Part 84. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 831. With this palm strike, Wei Xian's body began to turn into little bits of light and slowly dissipated. Su Tianqian frowned when she saw this scene. Wei Xian grinned, "If you want me to die, then I will make it happen." His soul soared into the sky and headed straight towards the sea of goo surrounding the corpse mountain. Sudden. A sound similar to the howling of a cow resounded throughout the entire world. The mountain of corpses began to tremble, the sea of goo began to churn, and a bad premonition suddenly arose in my heart. "No," Master Ghost suddenly shouted beside me, "he wants to sacrifice himself to awaken the goo dragon in the goo sea." I frowned, looked at Master Ghost, and asked, "You mean, there is really a goo dragon in this goo sea?" Master Gui nodded and replied, "Yes, there is indeed a goo dragon in the goo sea. It was formed by gathering the evil energy of the goo sea in Corpse Mountain. When Wei Xian captured me, I heard him say." Master Gui recalled for a while and continued, "Zhang Yuchain seems to want to get rid of this goo dragon." I instantly understood what was going on. Corpse Mountain Goo Sea is the place of the four evil spirits. Zhang Yuchain wanted to absorb all the evil spirits in the four evil lands. And in every place where the four evils are located, there is a carrier. Zhang Yuchain does not need to be there in person to absorb the evil spirit, he only needs to take the carrier back. The carrier of evil energy in Corpse Mountain Goo Sea is the Goo Dragon. I only need to destroy the Goo Dragon to destroy Zhang Yuchain's plan. Thinking of this, I quickly came to the edge of the mountain top and looked far into the sea of worms. The water of the Goo Sea is not blue, but black and red. The waves in the sea rolled, rising to a height of more than 10 meters. In addition, there were densely packed goo insects of various sizes in the sea. The blackness of the Goo Sea is because there are too many goo worms and they are superimposed together, making it look black. The red color of the Goo Sea is because some goo insects are blood red, and the blood red corpse water on the Corpse Mountain flows into the Goo Sea. I stared at the Goo Sea carefully, and the huge sound like a cow's braying came from the Goo Sea. Gradually, I discovered that there seemed to be something swimming in the sea of goo. Su Tianqian came to my side, looked at the Goo Sea, frowned, and said, "I originally planned to help you solve the troubles here before you came here, but I didn't expect that it would still come to this point." I felt a little moved. It turns out that my master acted alone to help me solve my trouble. I asked, "Master, are we going to kill this goo insect now?" Su Tianqian shook his head slightly and replied, "It's not time yet. We must find those people from the Miao village and rescue them all. This goo dragon has been formed, but if we want to leave here, we must eat those people from the Miao village." After hearing this, Yu Chan asked excitedly, "Master Tianqian, do you know where my people are?" I know. Su Tianqian stretched out his hand and pointed in one direction, "Your tribe is behind the waterfall not far away." After the waterfall? I immediately realized a problem and asked, "Master, if we go to the waterfall along the mountain of corpses, will we miss it? The goo dragon moving forward in the Goo Sea will definitely be faster than us." Obviously, my master had already considered this issue. She looked at Yu Chan and said, "This matter depends on you." Yu Chan stretched out her hand, pointed at herself, and asked with some confusion, "Rely on me." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 832. Su Tianqian nodded and said, "Yes, there is a kind of water strider." Before she finished speaking, Yu Chan knew what Su Tianqian was referring to. "You mean water strider goo?" When it comes to water striders, you probably don't know. The water strider, commonly known as the water tank, looks like a spider and can walk freely on the water, as if it has practiced lingua weeaboo. After the rain, there are such insects in rivers, ponds, ditches. The reason why it can walk quickly on the water is related to its body shape and limbs. The water strider has a slender body and is very light, with short front legs that it can use to catch prey. The middle and hind feet are very slender and covered with oily fine hairs, which are waterproof. Yasu Tianqian looked at the Sea of Gu and said, I just saw a large water strider Gu in the Sea of Gu. I should be able to attract it with your Miaojiang secret skills. I will leave the rest to you. Nabi is. Cai Dai came out for a while before, but now she's back. It is probably absorbing the power of the 5 poison pearls. Yu Chan nodded and said anxiously, then let's go quickly. Afterwards, we followed the corpse mountain path to the Gu seaside. Just now, those mountains of corpses were staring at us with eager eyes, but now with Su Tianqian beside them, they are as quiet as ordinary trees. We are on the shore, just far away from the top of the mountain. We can clearly see the whole picture of the Gu Sea, but we can't see its details clearly. Now that I'm here, I know how disgusting and scalp-numbing the Gu Sea is. The Sea of Gu was filled with dense insects, ranging from big to small, swimming crazily in the Sea of Gu. However, what puzzles me is how some bugs can survive in the sea when they are clearly land reptiles. Even if you are a Gu insect, you must abide by this principle, right? Yu Chan went to prepare the secret method needed to attract the water strider, while Su Tianqian stood quietly beside me, and her unique fragrance spread into my nose. I looked at Su Tianqian and expressed the doubts in my heart. After hearing this, Su Tianqian thought for a while and replied, what exists in the Gu Sea is not water, but corpse water flowing from the corpse mountain. This corpse water is a great tonic for Gu insects, and they can naturally survive here. It dawned on me, but I was a little shocked. How many corpses must be on this mountain of corpses to allow so much corpse water to flow out? Su Tianxian's voice rang in my ears again. She said, be careful later. Cover your body with the qi in your body. If you accidentally fall into the sea of worms, you can save your life. I nodded. There were so many worms in the sea of worms. If they fell, wouldn't they be like a wolf walking into a tiger's mouth? Also, this makes it corrosive. After a while, Yu Chan had completed preparing the secret technique, and she was seen tying a small green insect with her hair. She slowly put the little insect into the Sea of Gu. I originally thought that this little bug would be eaten by other Gu bugs immediately after entering the Gu Sea. But I didn't expect that the Gu insects in the Gu Sea would stay away from this little bug. I don't know how long it took, but there were ripples on the water. I looked towards the end of the Gu Sea and saw a huge figure speeding towards the side. Because it was too far away, I could only see an outline. The outline looks like a small car driving on the water. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 833. In less than a minute, the dark figure came to me. When I saw the true appearance of the black shadow, I was instantly dumbfounded. I never thought there were such big water striders in the world. The water strider in front of us is bigger than the old turtle we encountered before. The big one makes me feel bad. I saw that the water strider was about to leave after eating the small green insect. I quickly called Cai Dai out. Lusu. What's wrong? Cai Dai looked around blankly and asked with some confusion. I pointed at the giant water strider and told me our plan. After hearing this, Kaidi made an okay gesture and said to me, that's no problem. The moment the colorful butterfly appeared, the water strider that originally wanted to leave actually stopped motionless on the water, its body trembling non-stop. Cai Dai put her hands on her waist, pointed at water strider and said fiercely, take us out of here right now. The long tentacles of the water strider moved, indicating that it was okay. Kaidi turned her head and looked at me with a smile. Just when she was about to speak, I covered her mouth. You are amazing, You are amazing. I know what Cai Dai is going to say without having to think about it, but I can't help but wonder if I'm that good. Cai Dai glared at me angrily, then stepped on my feet with her jade feet, and then jumped on the back of the water strider. I grimaced in pain. This little girl. Afterwards, several of us got on the back of the water strider one after another. After everyone got up, the water strider began to swim quickly on the water. The speed is jaw-dropping. If he kept sailing at this speed, he would probably catch up with the goo dragon soon. The water strider's back is so hard that sitting on it feels like sitting on the floor. Kadi sat in my arms, raised her head, and said with a smile, "Lusu, I have a surprise for you later." I asked with some confusion, "What surprise?" Cai Dai smiled mysteriously and replied, "I won't tell you. You will know later." My feelings for Cai Dai are like that of a brother and sister. Although Cai Dai has lived for thousands of years, her mind is like that of a 7 or 8-year-old child. If you don't tell, don't tell. I don't want to know yet. Cai Dai was a little unconvinced and said, "Then I won't show it to you later. I won't show it to you even if I show it to a dog." Humph. I shook my head helplessly and smiled bitterly. This little girl has a really weird temper. The water strider sailed so fast that the surrounding scenery turned into a shadow. Sudden. The water strider's huge body suddenly shook. I was stunned, put the colorful butterfly aside, and looked at the surrounding situation. The water strider also slowed down because of this violent shaking. I looked around and saw corpse water churning in the goo sea, as if something was about to come out of the corpse water. At this moment, out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly noticed something seemed to be on one of the water strider's feet. I looked carefully and my scalp exploded instantly. The legs of the water strider were actually covered with dense dragon lice the size of a thumb. These dragon lice are biting the legs of the water strider frantically, causing it unspeakable suffering. Upon seeing this, Cai Dai hurriedly stepped forward, stretched out her fat little hands, and then the palms of her hands flashed with colorful lights, directly repelling the dragon louse. Just when I breathed a long sigh of relief, the water surface of Goo Sea was like boiling water, and the boiling water was bubbling with steam and bubbles. Immediately afterwards, countless dragon lice emerged from the bottom of the water and rushed toward us. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 834. My face hardened. I stretched out my left hand and activated the Jinglian mark on my palm. A hazy holy white light enveloped us all. Countless dragon lice hit the white light and instantly turned into white lotuses floating into the air. Yu Chan said on the side, "These are blood lice, they specialize in sucking human blood. It is estimated that no one has entered this mountain of corpses for thousands of years. They are probably crazy from hunger." I nodded. Fortunately, we were protected by Jinglian seal, otherwise we would have had to fight a hard battle. The speed of the water strider did not speed up, on the contrary, it became slower, and it was still twisting its body in pain. I frowned. What's going on? Didn't I protect it? Why is it still like this? At this time, I suddenly remembered something. I slapped my head and said, "Oh no. There must be dragon lice biting the water striders under the water. The pure lotus seal only protects the top, while the dragon louse is underwater." Thinking of this, I looked at Su Tianqian and said, "Master, I want to go into the water to deal with it." Su Tianqian looked at me worriedly and said, "If you do, otherwise I'd better go." I refused without thinking. "Master, you look so beautiful, but if you jumped into such dirty water and made yourself miserable, I would feel sorry for you." In my impression, Su Tianqian has always looked like a fairy. However, I have also seen my master in a state of embarrassment. That was when we were in the Hu family compound. Just because I have seen her miserable and haggard appearance, I don't want my master to experience something like that again. I originally said this unintentionally, but when Su Tianqian heard this, his eyes averted slightly, and a hint of shame appeared on his cold face. I couldn't help but suspect that my eyes were dazzled. Not allowing me to think any more, I said to Su Tianqian, "Master, you protect them, and I'll come back as soon as I can." With that said, I plunged into the water. At the same time, the colorful butterfly also turned into a bunch of colorful light and penetrated into my eyebrows. There are countless goo insects in the Sea of Goo, and many of them are extremely poisonous. If it weren't for Nidai inside me, I probably wouldn't be able to survive for long. When I came under the water, I saw at a glance that dragon lice as big as a thumb were densely covered under the water strider's body. I reach out my hand and release the fire of karma. Karmic fire is the fire of the underworld and is not afraid of water at all. A crimson fire dragon shot out of my hand and struck directly under water strider. As long as I control the karma fire, I won't hurt the water strider. The fire of karma swallowed up the dragon lice in an instant, and within a few seconds, those densely packed blood dragon lice were burned cleanly. Just when I wanted to leave here and return to the back of the water strider, a raging undercurrent rolled up from the bottom of the water, knocking me out directly. I stabilized my body and looked around, only to see a huge python appearing in front of me. Wait, I shouldn't say it's a python, I should say it's a leech. I instantly got goosebumps all over my body. The body of the leech is long and slightly flat, and it looks like a cylinder at first glance. Even in the water, I can feel the smooth touch of the leech. It was coming towards me at great speed. My expression froze, and I quickly opened the 9 eyes of heaven to dodge quickly. The big leech pounced on nothing. I summoned my heart sword and slashed at the leech. This sword directly cut the leech in half, but a strange scene happened next. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 835. The leech I chopped off turned into 2 leeches of the same size. Ordinary leeches, if cut in half, will still survive and may even split into a second leech. Moreover, things like leeches are extremely tenacious in life. It is impossible to eliminate it by ordinary methods. I summoned the karma fire again, and the crimson fire dragon roared towards the 2 leeches. The leech was swallowed up in the blink of an eye. I originally thought that the fire of karma would destroy it easily. But I still underestimated the vitality of leeches. The fire of karma burned crazily on the leech's body, but the leech became more ferocious as if on stimulants. It seems that the pain caused by the burning karma made him go crazy. These 2 leeches are 10 meters long. If they go crazy, I can't resist them at all. Moreover, I can't hold my breath for too long in the water. If I continue like this, I will suffocate and die. If these 2 giant leeches are not eliminated, they will definitely hunt us to the ends of the earth. I summoned the heavenly secret and cast the wooden talisman. The vines were corroded by the corpse water as soon as they burst out from the talisman. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly. Fighting in the Sea of Goo was really difficult. If Su Tianqian hadn't asked me to wrap the qi around my body, I might not even have any bones left. As for why the water strider was safe and sound, I think it was because he had lived there for a long time and had become immune to the corpse water. At this moment, an undercurrent surged in the Goo Sea, and countless goo insects were approaching me. These goo insects come in different types, sizes, and shapes. Scorpions, centipedes, geckos, pythons. There are all kinds of insects. And, I also discovered that there are not only bugs in the Sea of Goo, but also human goo. What is human poison? Of course, it is the goo worm formed by the gathering of human goo. This is bad. In this situation, yin soldiers cannot be summoned, and thunder Jew cannot be easily stacked. I also understand simple common sense of physics. How to do this? If I were on the shore now, I would have 100 ways to eliminate these goo insects, but now. Just when I hesitated and didn't know what to do, A colorful ray of light burst out from between my eyebrows. I saw the colorful butterfly appearing in front of me. Her whole body was shrouded in a faint colorful light, and her body was not wet at all. She stretched out her little white hand toward me, and then a beam of colorful light enveloped me. Cai Dai's pretty face is covered with frost. I have never seen her like this before. She is very angry now. These bugs. Look how I deal with them. Nabi's voice sounded directly in my mind. As soon as he finished speaking, the colorful light bloomed all over the butterfly's body, directly lighting up the bottom of the water. Suddenly. Then, a scene that surprised me happened. Cai Dai's little body began to grow slowly, and her once short, fair legs turned into long, slender, plump legs. Not only that, Cai Dai also grew as tall as me behind her in an instant, and her originally shriveled waist grew larger at a speed visible to the naked eye. The appearance of the colorful butterfly has also changed. The original colorful butterfly was playful and cute, but now the colorful butterfly has raised eyebrows and looks as light as the distant mountains, with phoenix eyebrows and bright eyes, which are all enchanting when looking around, with a delicate and greasy nose, and skin as white as snow. It's like a female emperor has arrived in the world, with unparalleled splendor. I opened my mouth and looked at the scene in front of me in disbelief. I finally knew what the surprise Cai Dai said just now was. She actually changed from a little lowly, to a royal sister. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 836. I looked at Cai Dai with shock in my eyes. What was once a joke has now become a fact. Not only had Cai Dai's figure and appearance changed, but her aura was also completely different from before. I couldn't accept this change for a while. Cai Dai's cold eyes slowly scanned the densely packed goo insects around her. Immediately, her aura surged, and a dazzling beam of seven-colored light burst out from Cai Dai's body, filling the entire water area. In an instant, the goo insects quickly dispersed like a mouse meeting a cat. Seeing this, I also let out a long sigh of relief. Kadi came to me, straightened out her bulging chest, and looked at me provocatively. A wry smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. No matter how Cai Dai's appearance changed, her character was still the same as before, playful and cute. After the underwater matter was resolved, Cai Dai and I returned to the back of the water strider. The appearance of Cai Dai stunned everyone present. The surprised expressions on their faces were exactly the same as mine just now. Miao Fengluan came to Cai Dai and compared her height. She asked in surprise, Cai Dai, how did you? He Kaidi looked at Miao Fengluan with a smile, stretched out his hand and hugged her arm affectionately. I'm as tall as Sister Fengluan. Miao Fengluan's height is not short, it can be said that she is very tall. She must be at least about 1.7 meters tall. And Cai Dai is actually taller than Miao Fengluan. Yueshan looked at me in surprise, and I shook my head helplessly at her and smiled bitterly. Su Tianxian stood quietly to the side, her eyes looking at Cai Dai were full of strangeness. Cai Dai came to my right and said proudly, how is it? Is this surprise big enough? I nodded and replied, big enough? Big enough? Fortunately, you are not disabled. If you were disabled, it would not be a surprise, but a shock. I couldn't help but make fun of him. Cai Dai was stunned, pouted her mouth angrily, and stamped her feet angrily on the spot. Lusu, you have gone too far. Cai Dai put her hands on her waist and yelled, you don't like watching it, do you? Then don't watch it. I can't last long anyway. It couldn't last long, so I asked with some confusion, why do you say that? Cai Dai explained, with my current strength, I can only maintain this state for 2 hours. Besides, I don't really like this look, because of what? Kadi's next words almost made me laugh out loud. Because I feel a little heavy, and it's a little inconvenient to walk. As soon as these words came out, Master Gui and I couldn't help laughing. Cai Dai is Cai Dai, no matter how she changes her appearance, she can't change her silly and playful look. After hearing this, Miao Fengluan quickly pulled Cai Dai aside and whispered, Kaidi. You are a girl, so don't say such shameful words next time. Kadi nodded and replied, I know, but it's really uncomfortable. Miao Fengluan took Cai Dai's hand and said, just get used to it. Kaidi Su Tianxian suddenly shouted. Kaidi came to Su Tianxian, bowed, and respectfully shouted, Master Tianxian. Su Tianxian took out a talisman from his pocket and said, if you hold this talisman, it will help you practice faster. Cai Dai's eyes lit up and she took the talisman. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 837. Kadi respects Su Tianxian very much. Thank you, Master Tianxian. Master Tianxian, you are so good. Even better than Lu Su. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly, and I couldn't help but say, I said, do you want to be so realistic? Humph. Kadi pursed her lips and turned her face to the side, it's so realistic. Whoever gives me delicious food, I will follow him. I no longer bickered with the colorful butterflies, and the water striders moved quickly on the water. After walking forward for about a minute, the water strider slowed down again. At this moment, I saw a huge black shadow in the water directly in front of me. With a stern look on my face, I caught up. The goo dragon in front of me is bigger than the half-finished goo dragon I saw in the goo breeding ground. The huge body moved forward rapidly in the water, stirring up waves and strong currents that almost overturned the water strider. Master, I looked at Su Tianxian and asked solemnly, should we take action now? Su Tianxian looked at the goo dragon in the water not far away and said, not yet, we have to rescue those in the Miao village first. Nai Dai. Let it go faster and surpass that goo dragon. We have to get to the cave behind the waterfall before him. Cai Dai said there was no problem. She squatted down and threatened the water strider fiercely, faster. Otherwise, I will turn you into ashes. The water strider still didn't speed up. I know that it is afraid of the goo dragon in front of it. Cai Dai continued to threaten, you are afraid of it, aren't you afraid of me? If you listen to me now, you can still survive. If you don't, I will make you disappear now. Cai Dai's pretty face gradually turned cold, her aura became fierce, and an invisible sense of oppression spread from her body. The huge body of the water strider began to tremble violently, and finally attacked the goo dragon like crazy. It seems that in water strider's heart, colorful butterflies are more terrifying than goo dragons. In the blink of an eye, the water strider came to the goo dragon. The goo dragon seemed to be aware of our presence and poked its head directly out of the water. The huge impact of the waves made the water strider a little unstable. At this time, the water strider seemed like a small boat on the sea, and it seemed that it might capsize at any time. Still, I underestimated the water strider's ability to navigate on sleep. It can actually swim quickly along with the huge waves. It was not washed over by the waves. I looked at the goo dragon in the water. It had already poked its huge head out of the water. When I saw Gu Long's huge head like a locomotive, I was stunned for a moment. Compared to the goo dragon in the goo breeding ground, the goo dragon in front of me is much more durable than that goo dragon. It's like a real blue dragon. Dragon whiskers, dragon scales, and dragon claws are all there. It seems that what my master said is right, this goo dragon has become a fire, and it is only the last step to escape from the corpse mountain goo sea. The Goo Dragon stared at us with its huge round eyes. When it saw Cai die, it was stunned for a moment, and then monstrous anger appeared in its eyes. Cai die also looked at it with a cold expression, and the atmosphere in the air instantly became freezing. Just when the two sides were in a stalemate, the Goo Dragon took the lead and opened its bloody mouth and bit us. Every time the Goo Dragon moves, it will cause very powerful waves. The water strider can only use all its strength to stabilize its body. It also knows that if we don't protect us, he will die. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 838. Seeing that the bloody mouth of the goo worm was about to swallow us into its belly, I quickly opened the Nine Eyes Heaven realm, and we disappeared together with the water strider. When he reappeared, he was already 7 or 8 meters away from the Goo Dragon. Because of the action just now, the Goo Dragon pounced in vain, which also gave us a chance to breathe. The water strider sailed on the water like a madman as if he had been granted amnesty. The Goo Dragon behind him also came to his senses, turned his huge body, and chased us. Although Goo Dragon is huge in size, it can sail at extremely fast speeds in the water. In the blink of an eye, the Goo Dragon was already behind us. I turned around and looked at the distance between Goo Dragon and us. If Goo Long continues sailing at this speed, I'm afraid we will be caught up before long. We must find a way to stop it. My mind was racing, and an idea emerged in my mind. I summoned the heavenly secret and cast the 4 symbols talisman. Obscure incantation slowly emerged on the 4-symbol talisman, and a dazzling beam of light burst out from the secret cylinder. I formed the sword formula with my hand and pointed it at the Goo Dragon. 4 divine runes flew through the air, and the shadows of 4 divine beasts spread out from the runes. For a moment, tigers roared, dragons roared, and phoenixes resounded throughout the film. The 4 elephant beasts surrounded the Goo Dragon and launched a fierce attack on it. It is impossible to destroy the Goo Dragon with the help of the 4 symbols talisman. What I have to do is to delay the Goo Dragon's march to give us a chance to escape. The green dragon divine beast used the most primitive method to wrap up the Goo Dragon's huge body and then scratch and tear it. The white tiger moved on the Goo Dragon's back and opened its bloody mouth to bite madly. The Suzaku hovered in the air, spitting flames from its mouth. The Suanweo turtle huddled in its shell and kept hitting the Goo Dragon. Seeing that Goo Long was being held back, I quickly said to Cai Dai, "Make it go faster." Cai Dai nodded in agreement, and then continued to threaten Water Strider. Su Tianxian looked at the Goo Dragon and slowly stretched out her hand. She picked up the sword formula and then slowly drew the talisman in the air. After a moment, an illusory talisman shining with golden light appeared in front of her. Su Tianxian gave a sweet shout, and the talisman flew through the air and came straight to the Goo Dragon. Dazzling golden light burst out from the talisman, and countless golden ropes bound the Goo Dragon tightly. The Goo Dragon instantly lost its ability to move. I looked at Su Tianxian, my eyes full of admiration. As expected of my master. If you don't take action, you will be shocked. Seeing me looking at her, Su Tianxian turned around, looked at me, and asked doubtfully, "What are you looking at me doing?" I laughed dryly and said, "No. It's nothing." The Water Strider quickly left the Goo Dragon behind. I breathed a long sigh of relief. If my master hadn't taken action, it would have been difficult for us to leave here. Even if the Goo Dragon is thrown behind him, the speed of the Water Strider still does not decrease at all. It seems that it still cherishes its life. Soon, a fault appeared in front of me, and the raging corpse water flowed down the cliff. Su Tianxian said, "In front is the Guhe waterfall. There is a huge cave behind the waterfall, and the people of the Miao village are locked in it." I nodded and said, "Then how should we get in?" Su Tianxian said, "I still rely on it." Her eyes briefly glanced at Water Strider. I was stunned for a moment, and instantly understood what my master meant. Water Striders need wings. Although they cannot fly for long periods of time, they can also glide. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 839. So we don't have to worry about falling off the cliff at all. The water strider ran towards the cliff at great speed. At this moment, I felt like riding on a sea airship, which was exciting and thrilling. Everyone, I shouted over my shoulder, hold on tight, or you'll fall down later. After everyone listened to my words, they quickly grabbed the water strider's back. We are right in front of the water strider's wings, so we don't have to worry about being thrown out when it takes off. Moreover, the water strider has fine hairs on its back. These fluff are almost invisible on a normal-sized water strider, but on such a huge water strider, they are like barbs, but they are not hard and are a good stress point. We clung to these fluffs, and as soon as we were ready, the water strider rushed out of the cliff. The strong wind whistled in my ears, making me unable to open my eyes. After about 5 or 6 seconds, the sound of the howling wind in my ears subsided. I opened my eyes and looked around. I saw that we were in front of a waterfall, with an abyss beneath us. Cold corpse water flowed downwards. The waterfall rolled with white waves, splashed with jade-like and silver-like water drops, and shone with colorful rays of light. It makes a continuous sound like spring thunder, which is powerful and majestic. If it were not realized that the water is corpse water, such a magnificent sight would be pleasing to the eye. Water striders cannot fly for long periods of time, so we must find the entrance to the cave behind the waterfall as soon as possible. I looked at Su Tianxian and asked, "Master, how should we get in?" Su Tianxian stood up, pointed in one direction, and said, "The entrance to the cave is right there." I nodded and looked at Cai Dai, who understood what I meant without me having to explain. She whispered something to the water strider. After hearing this, water strider flew towards the direction Su Tianxian pointed just now. Su Tianxian stretched out her slender jade hands, with golden light shining in her palms. The golden light in her palms wrapped around our bodies. I know she did this to prevent us from being corroded by the corpse water. Without any hesitation, the water strider plunged into the waterfall. The cold corpse water fell from the sky, but it could not break through the layer of golden light around me. At this moment, I felt like I was wearing a raincoat, and the corpse water couldn't touch me at all. I looked straight ahead, and everywhere I looked was cold corpse water. After a while, the water strider rushed out of the waterfall, and a huge cave appeared in front of him. The cave is very huge, at least 100 meters in diameter. It's really unimaginable that there is such a large space behind such a huge waterfall. The water strider landed firmly, and we jumped off its back. The colorful butterfly came to the water strider and stretched out its green-white index finger. Then, the index finger flashed with colorful light. Water strider seemed a little frightened and backed away continuously. Cai Dai tapped water strider's body, then withdrew his hand and threatened, "We will have to rely on you when we go out later. Don't run around. If I don't detoxify you, you will dead." When I heard this sentence, I was slightly startled. I couldn't believe it. Cai Dai is so thoughtful. However, the more I look at her now, the more she looks like a female bandit, which is really inconsistent with her beautiful face and hot body. Water strider nodded, then lay down on the side and stopped moving. "Let's go," Su Tianxian said lightly. I nodded and followed Su Tianxian, followed closely by Master Gui, Miao Fengluan, and Yu Chan. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 840. On the way to the inside of the cave, Master Gui suddenly said to me, "Lu Su, thank you very much for what happened today." I waved my hand and said, "It's okay." I told you before that if you have anything to tell me, I will come to help you, but you choose to face it alone. I paused and said, I think you just don't think of me as your brother. Master Gui smiled and replied, you couldn't protect yourself at that time, how could I bother you? But I never expected that you would become so strong in just such a short time. What Mr. Ghost said is not unreasonable. At that time, I really couldn't do anything, I didn't have any ability, and I still needed help from others. But it's different now. I have the ability to stand alone. Miao Fengluan came to Master Gui and said with a smile, Brother Tiancheng, it's great that you're okay. Because one thing after another just happened too suddenly. Miao Fengluan didn't have time to say a few words to Master Gui. Now that she was free, Miao Fengluan naturally wanted to find Master Gui to care about. Master Gui smiled slightly and said, Fengluan, I'm sorry for making you worry. It's okay. Brother Tiancheng, as long as you are safe, it will be fine. Su Tianxian stopped, took out the Jingmen City God seal from his pocket and handed it to Master Gui. Take this, it belongs to you. When Master Gui saw what Su Tianxian was holding, he was stunned on the spot. With trembling hands, he took the Jingmen City God seal over. Thank you, Master Tianxian. Thank you, Master Tianxian. Su Tianxian waved his hand and said, you don't need to thank me. Lu Su snatched the city god seal back. If you want to thank me, just thank him. Master Gui turned his head and looked at me blankly. Then, Master Gui made a move that surprised me. He fell to his knees with a plop, lowered his head, and whispered to me, Lu Su, there is one thing I hope you can promise me. I stepped forward to help Master Gui up, but no matter how hard I tried, he refused to get up. Say something if you have anything to say. Master Gui said firmly, no, if you don't promise me, I won't get up. Okay, okay. I promise you. Promise you. Only then did Master Gui stand up. Just tell me what it is. Master Gui took a deep breath and said, I want to borrow troops from you. Borrowing troops? I asked doubtfully. Master Gui nodded and replied, that's right. It's borrowed troops. I need the troops to completely eradicate the remaining traitors of Jingmen City God. If there are no Yin soldiers, it will be difficult for me to do it. The 30,000 Yin soldiers in Netherworld returned to the sea are what I rely on to deal with Zhang Yucheng. If I lend them to Master Gui, I'm afraid. However, since I have promised Master Gui, I will not break my promise. Okay, after we resolve the matter here, I will lend you the Yin soldier. Master Gui cupped his fists at me and said, I will definitely repay you for your kindness today. I waved my hand and said, there's no need to repay me, as long as nothing happens to you. It's also a good thing to be able to help young Master Gui regain the Jingmen City God. Maybe he will send troops to help me after he regains the Jingmen City God. But I don't know if I can survive until that time, because Zhang Yucheng will cause trouble for me at any time.